Okay?
All right, you are good to go.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call our meeting to order. And I'm going to start off with saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty,
and
justice
justice
for
for all.
all. Thank you very much. Chris, do we have minutes or no?
Yes, I sent them out this afternoon.
Okay. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I'm having a look at them right now.
I get them.
I read them, I see no changes.
It looks fine to me, Chris.
Okay, they look fine. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll move it.
Okay.
Chris, there's a typo.
Oh, okay.
At one point, financial town meeting is just financial. There's a missing "an" in there.
Pretty close.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, though, it so far looks good.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Everybody voted in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Chris.
Mhm.
We have to have, by charter, we have to have a discussion and vote on, we used to be 2 elected officials, now there's 1 elected official, and that's Carol. And Carol,
Yes,
okay, could you give us, it is 7:05, could you give us at least until 7:10 and then come back, please?
I can. If you need me back earlier than that, I sent you a text on your cell phone, so you can just text me on that number, okay?
You got it. I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. The council last week voted to recommend a salary of, she's making 59.5 right now, and the council said 61,000, which is a 2.52.
2 points.
I'll start the discussion. I went over a lot of League of Cities and Towns today. We are the lowest in the state paying a town clerk. At 59.5, Tiverton is 67.3, Jamestown is 71.6. So we are the lowest by far. Just for reference, our tax assessor is 59,000 right now.
Do we know what?
Really?
Do we know what
51
New Shoreham pays?
Oh, I had that. I don't have it right in front of me right now. But we are the lowest. I mean, we are the lowest.
Because I know that they are the next smallest town.
Right.
Like it's New Shoreham and then us.
Well, I was
So I'm
looking
thinking in terms of like, how many people you are a clerk
well,
of.
I was looking at Jamestown. Jamestown, the clerk makes 74,000. Excuse me, yeah, 74,000 now. The problem is, I mean, and their budget's a little over 9 million compared to ours. I know Bob Mushin's on here, and I have a problem. I'm on Social Security, and the Social Security increase is based on the Consumer Price Index, and it went up 5.9%.
Yeah.
It's the largest it's been in decades.
Yes.
And I have a hard time with the 2.52 with everything going up the way it is. I think our town clerk does a phenomenal job. First of all, I think the tax assessor, the clerk, they're all underpaid. I'm sorry, that's just where we are when you look at the other towns. I'm not out to break the bank, but I personally think if she got the CPI, it would be around 63,000 instead of 59.5. And that's what I would like to start. That's
What percent is that, George, roughly?
5.9.
Fine.
So, I mean, I just have a hard time.
George, do
Recognize that that the requirement of the charter is that the council give you a recommendation. We
Correct.
did so based upon making it as high, actually higher than we granted anyone else. So that's part of the thinking. The other part of the thinking is that she receives substantial stipends for Zoom meetings, et cetera.
Right.
So her salary, sorry, go ahead.
Which she should. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
her
that's part-
salary
that's-
does not,
I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
her salary does not reflect all of her compensation. I would personally would have no argument with what you're saying, George. I couldn't agree more. It is up to the budget committee to make that recommendation to the people.
Mhm.
And you certainly should feel free to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
No,
Greg,
That would be my recommendation,
the 63?
63.
George, may I ask?
Yes.
I know that it's not under our purview, but the increases that the other town employees received, do we have any sense of that?
Well, a lot of it's contractual, except for is it the finance director, the town administrator, and the tax assessor? Is that right, Bob?
that's correct. Yeah. And you're right. We are formulating the budget, obviously. So the budgeted value of the finance director, the town administrator, and the town assessor remain to be stated in the budget. They are not yet.
Right.
The highest, over the next 3 years, the highest increase that we granted the union representatives, which constitutes the rest of the players,
Right.
was 2.5%. So this exceeds that very, very slightly, admittedly.
Yep.
But it is higher than than those.
How
It
big
is-
of a,
Go ahead.
I'll wait till you finish, Bob, sorry.
No, it's nominally where we expect to go with them as well, and the 2.5% limit.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that the budget committee couldn't recommend, for all the reasons you've stated, a different value.
Well, I mean, right now, Joe, the finance director, is at 66.3,
Right.
and Tony's at 73. You know that I'm not comparing the jobs. I'm just saying, go looking at the other towns, we are way low. I know
Yeah.
Tony's been trying to bring the tax assessor and the clerk into very close numbers.
Parity kind of.
Yes.
Bob, do you know about what Carol nets in those other stipends you were mentioning? And if, George, in your research, if the other clerks, if that's considered just part of their position and their salary, or if they also receive stipends?
I didn't look into the other ones in depth because some of them have deputy clerks also. They do some of the
Right.
work. So we don't have it, that here. Good, Bob?
The other players, here's another fact.
Yep.
The town clerk pays no, and is now the only person who pays no share of her health care.
Right.
So
Mm.
she pays no contribution to her health care, and that's by town ordinance.
Right.
We could change that if we desired. We have not changed it. We've left it the way it is, which says that's what an elected official gets, is full health care. So back to your question, the assessor, the finance director, and the town administrator, none of those people receives stipends in addition to their salary for work that they do.
Right.
Some of them, a non-participant in the healthcare program receives a stipend in accordance with the town's policy that if you don't use our healthcare program, we give you an amount of money, which is some share of an individual plan. But anyway,
Right.
so that's where that is.
Okay.
Now you asked another question, Jenna, which was,
I asked, do we know about what she makes in stipends. I'm wondering,
right.
once we include the rough estimate of her stipends, how close does that get her to the 63 we're talking about?
Got it. I don't have that.
If I
figure
may
with-
interrupt, I think that's a mood issue because she's doing it on extra time. It's not part of,
Mhm.
I mean, it's taking extra time and
Right.
because it should not be rolled into her salary or base or anything like that.
Right.
Right. I'm just, as we're benchmarking, I'm wondering if we're comparing apples to apples.
Well, if we get off of Zoom, if that ends, then that stipend ends.
Right.
You know, that's it. And it's not just us, it's the other committees too.
Mhm.
So,
So I'm sorry. First, this is a newbie question. So the town administrator, the finance director, and the assessor.
Yep.
Are all salaried but not governed by the collective bargaining agreement.
right.
And how are their salaries set, and do we know what their increases were?
Mm.
Well, they're putting together the budget now. So.
Right.
the
Oh, I
Set by
see.
the council.
And by the council, okay. And the
Council-
and good, Bob.
No, we'll ultimately approve those, Don.
And your sense is they will be in the 2.5% range.
That's my sense.
Yeah.
Right.
So the question is Carol's current salary far enough outside the professional standard, like George was talking about, that we need to do more than a 2.5 to bring her to an industry standard level?
She's still going to be way below the industry standard.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the other towns. I mean, like I said, Tiverton's 67.3. Jamestown 71.6.
Well, I'm
I have a
guessing,
question for you.
Hmm?
I have a question for you, Bob. What if, say we were to do the amount that George has recommended? How does that give you, how difficult is that for you to manage?
Yeah, she is the only elected official. Well, you're speaking to one, but I mean, she's the only elected full-time official who is now under this process. So it would not be a problem, Craig, that if you said if the budget committee said we recommend 63,000 for that, they've taken the input of the council said 61, they chose to say 63. Ultimately, the people get to decide whether they think that that's a right figure. And Carol, I don't know sitting here how many elected clerks we still have, but we, in this town, we have only one elected full-time official, and that's the town clerk. It is relatively uncommon elsewhere. So to your point about Tiverton or anybody else's process, they have to attract a town clerk with an offer of a salary. So it's not an elected position, it's a hired position. So that's a little bit different dynamic. That's why our town finance director makes substantially more than the person he succeeded who had served for 20 years as town treasurer. He was an elected. So yeah, it's a little bit of an artificiality that I don't know how to deal with other than the way you're doing it. And were you to say, thank you very much, council, for your recommendation, we choose to recommend 63,000. I don't think, to your question, Craig, that would cause us a great deal of turmoil with respect. Well, now we're giving, to say that it wouldn't affect our salary for the assessor who is in a similar situation.
Exactly.
It probably would. It
Yeah.
probably would influence that.
I agree.
well, George, that was my thinking here is that I would assume that the other three positions that we've talked about, the finance director, the administrator, and the assessor, are probably in a similar boat compared to their peers as we find our town clerk. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just sort of guessing that. And
Yes.
it feels a little strange to, I'll just say correct, and that may not be the proper word, to correct the town clerk's salary vis-a-vis her peers without the ability to affect the same on the other three. But this is the one that we have under our control, if you will. So
Right.
I would prefer if there were a process that would say to the town council and perhaps to the public at large, we are vastly underpaying compared to our peer towns, the officials that run this town, and we would prefer to fix this in some budget year going forward and fix all four rather than just fixing one. But I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of what President Mushin would say is an appropriate way to look at the other three.
Well, I mean, I
Bob,
agree
do
with you.
you think,
Chris,
sorry, Bob, do you think that if we do the 53, that'll affect like you're negotiating with other people? Like, do you think it, like either way, like, do you think that like that will make it harder to negotiate with other town employees?
I don't think it'll make it harder. It will set kind of a standard. Let's say we say 63,000 is the budget committee's recommendation for the clerk's salary. If I'm the tax assessor,
right,
I haven't been there nearly as long, so I don't have the claim to longevity, if you will, and that sort of thing. So I suppose that's a condition. Certainly that's true of the finance director, and certainly it's true of the town administrator. The only long-term serving hired salaried employee is the town clerk. So it has that uniqueness that I think, doesn't dramatically affect the negotiation with the others. I suppose any time, the entity that's charged with the recommendation, in this case, the council, is at one number, and the other entity, the budget committee, says, oh, plus 2,000. I suppose there's a sense in which, well, give me plus 2,000. I mean,
right,
that's what the budget committee said.
right. Our problem,
But I think there are other extenuating circumstances.
I agree. And the other thing is, in the past, there's no basis criteria. The only what we've relied on is basically the consumer price index. That's where we've been. That's what we've looked at every year. There's nothing else. I mean, we know what Carol does. We know how hard she works, and she does get a stipend on all the Zooms. And but I just have a hard time if we don't go up to the 63 with a 5.9%. I don't know how we're going to do it next year. I just, if it comes in at 2%, then we go 2%. But I mean, we're already going to be behind the 8 ball. The more we kick the
Right,
can
if you
down
keep deferring that,
if you kick the
it's
can down the
that
road,
much more
right.
of a hard pill to swallow. It makes me think of all the tuition freezes at colleges, then all of a sudden they brought them up to like true cost. It was awful.
George, I'd like to move that we recommend the 63,000.
For a second.
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. So I will, now I need an authorization from you people to tell me to send an email to her notifying her of this.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye, very good. Thank you. I'll do that, and we will,
Aye.
it's taking care of the charter, our obligation to the charter. Okay, let me, gotta get Carol back. Let's see.
I'm happy to remain connected. I don't anticipate you'll need my input, but I'll stay on board.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Gotta get Carol back.
She's visibly here and has an icon.
I know. She back?
She's muted and no video.
Can you send her were you able to text her, George? Because I know she said she texted you.
Yeah, I don't have it though.
We definitely went way over 7:10, huh?
Oh, I know. Way over, way over.
Good conversation, but over
Oh, you
7:10.
sleep already. No, wait a minute. No, I don't have it. Is Bob there?
He
Bob,
said he was
Yeah.
going to hang out,
Yeah.
so maybe
Can you
he can
text
reach out
Car-
to Carol.
please text Carol and tell her to come back, please.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get, we can have in the general budget discussion, I forgot to put specifically communications. But it's a budget discussion. As Jenna had said, she wasn't sure about using the school for the financial town meeting. Carol did reach out to Lori down there, and Lori came back and said, the school only has the, I'll read it to you exactly what it says. So we can use it, no problem. It says, so many different things here. Bear with me 1 second, please. Okay. That's that one. I'm sorry.
I'm back.
She's
Oh, there she
received,
is.
there you
Thank you very
go.
much.
She's received the message and is back in service.
Thank you very much. Okay, Lori said, like Carol, the schools committee's vaccination policy applies to school-sponsored events only. So we have the green light for the financial town meeting down there.
Mhm.
Okay. So that
And
is-
with us knowing the date, does that firm up the other question mark dates that we had in our implementation
Yes, well,
timeline?
I also had I had an email from John McNamee from the school, and he said he would like to move the school meeting on our calendar from February 22nd to the 15th of March, when we meet with the library. So we'll meet with the library quickly, and then it'll be the school after that. Okay, I told him it was okay. We will.
Do we, George, do we know when their budget workshops are?
I don't have that yet. No, they haven't told me yet. So I'll find out. The other thing is, so our next meeting is the 15th of February. We'll get our draft budget from the town administrator. Okay, and we will, we'll probably get the books out. We'll get the books out to everybody. Everybody can have a chance to look at it, and we will see at that time who we want to schedule for our February 22nd meeting. Okay? That okay with everybody?
Mhm.
Let's see, so I will email the town clerk with what we just came up with.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, Carol, it went over 10 minutes. Sorry.
Okay, I figured somebody would text me.
There we go. Any more on our general budget discussions? Anybody have anything to talk about? Just until we get the books from Tony. Okay, we can start going there. I did, by the way, when I was going over the salaries earlier, real quick, just to let everybody know. Our fire chief and our police chief both get 89,628. And that's, I mean, when you start looking, I will send the League of Cities and Towns, which Carol sent, I had asked Carol for, and to everybody, and you can look it over and see where we are.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, George.
I just think, you know, we pinch the penny, pinch it, and then we're screwed down the road. I'm sorry to use my language, but we're in trouble then. We really are. So that's where we are there. So our next meeting will be the 15th of February, which is coming up real quick. I will get out an agenda, and we'll ask Tony if we can get if he can have the books to us a few days beforehand. We can get it. Probably get an email from Tony saying, pick up your book. Okay, and then we can start looking at where the council is and tentative numbers. I did ask Carol today if we had money left in our budget. We do, so we're okay right now. We're okay. So, is there anything else?
Hey, George, I have one other
Yes.
topic. I'm not sure it's in the agenda, but we talked about it last meeting.
What?
And that is the status of the audit, and in particular, the management letter. I'm very nervous. I mean, I want to read it. And this is generally due in December.
Right.
And here we are, almost the end of January. I don't have the This is one of our most important duties is to, audit that letter and to make sure that ask the questions about
Right.
what is in the management letter and how are we set to fix it. And I haven't heard anything.
Bob, are you there?
I am. We have received an extension to the 31st of January
Right.
on the basis of the fact that we had items that from the pension side that were not available in a timely fashion. So that's what has delayed the audit production. We received this afternoon an acknowledgement that the municipal transparency portal inputs had been received and were being posted. I believe that will be the very last element. And I believe that the auditors are able to say in the next day or two, we gave you a draft audit and I'm not certain that it meets what you're asking, Craig. I don't know that they delivered the management assessment,
Right.
but we should expect to receive before the end of this week, since that's the end of our extended period of
I really don't want to see it. It's I'd like to see it because it's one of our highest duties.
right.
Make sure
And
that,
as soon as I will look this evening to see if the draft version, I do not believe it does, but to see whether it contains what you're asking for and get it to you if it hasn't been
I'd
gotten.
appreciate it.
And otherwise, I would expect that we would receive that in the next 2 days.
Okay, thank you. Thank
you. If when you get it, can you have it emailed out to us, please?
I will do it immediately, or
Thank
as
you
near
very much.
immediately as I am, of which I am
Okay.
capable.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Okay.
that. We do.
Sure.
We do. Is there anything else? Okay, I will send an email off to our town clerk. Our next meeting's on the 15th. And if anybody wants to have anything specific on the agenda at that time, please send me an email or give me a call.
Well, I think we should have a discussion of the management letter that we will receive and have it digested by the 15th. So I'd appreciate Christopher if you could put that on the agenda.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Without ask for a motion, you asked for a
Adjourn.
motion. I'll make the motion. We adjourn.
To adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
I made it.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you.